Well, here's one of the larger issues. If a politician has a scuzzy private life, how much weight should we give to the scuzziness when deliberating how to vote? The current poster boy here is, of course, Anthony Weiner, running in the Democratic primary for mayor of New York City. Weiner's personal failings are well known by now. To what degree should they influence a New York Democrat's voting preference? The latest round of revelations about Weiner, reported by Radio Derb last week, have certainly caused his poll numbers to detumesce. A new Quinnipiac poll, out on Monday, showed him in 4th place, with 16% of voters favouring him. That's down from 1st place and 26% last week. A big drop, to be sure. Although if you want to look at it from a glass half full perspective, Weiner's lost only 2/5 of his voters, not even half. Which tells you something about New York Democratic voters. Yes, folks, Radio Derb can still report that Anthony Weiner is holding his own. I got to thinking about this, trying to see it from a left liberal's point of view. What if this were my candidate? Leave the New York mayorship aside and imagine the following scenario. There is a candidate for major national office. He has strong and consistent policy positions that I really like. He wants to abolish the Departments of Education, Energy, Agriculture and Housing and Urban Development. He wants to shut down our military bases in Europe and Asia. He wants to scrap the IRS and raise the missing revenue with a national sales tax. He wants to outlaw public sector unions. He wants an end to all foreign aid, except where it can be rigorously justified as a bribe for good behaviour. He wants the USA to withdraw from the UN, to expel them from our territory, pull down the UN building and sow the ground with salt. He wants to restore freedom of association by repealing all federal anti-discrimination laws. And he wants federal assistance denied to any institution practicing race preferences. He wants an Israeli-style fence built along the southern border, the swift expulsion of all illegal immigrants, and legal immigration drastically curtailed. You get the idea. Now, I would be drooling to vote for this guy, or gal, whatever. But now, suppose I learned that he'd been doing dirty talk over the phone with ladies not his wife, and tweeting them pictures of his Johnson. Would I still want to vote for him? It's not an easy question. It's also a question I can procrastinate about because it's not likely to happen. Conservatives just aren't like that. Oh, sure, you can name 1 or 2 cases, but it's highly unusual. Conservative positions arise from a conservative temperament, and we're just not transgressive. The last conservative US president who was significantly scuzzy was Warren Harding, and even his scuzziness wasn't really transgressive. Sure, he boinked White House secretaries in the broom closets, and served whiskey to guests during Prohibition, and enjoyed a game of poker with his cronies. He was a great conservative president, though, and he dealt with the 1920-21 recession by doing exactly the right thing. Basically, nothing. Here's historian Paul Johnson on Warren Harding. Quote, Harding won the election on his 55th birthday, which, characteristically, he celebrated by playing a round of golf. He did not believe that politics were very important, or that people should get excited about them, or allow them to penetrate too far into their everyday lives. In short, he was the exact opposite of Lenin, Mussolini and Hitler, and the professional social democratic politicians of Europe. End quote. Be still my heart. Of course, we now know that Harding fell short on certain qualities you'd want in an ideal politician. Mainly, he was careless in his choice of friends. Still, on policy he was hard to beat, and as a voter I would certainly forgive him the occasional quickie in a White House broom closet. What about someone really transgressive, though? What about a promiscuous homosexual who held all those good policy positions that I favour? I honestly don't know. There is certainly a line there I wouldn't want to cross, but to be perfectly honest, I don't think Anthony Weiner's strange personal habits are on the wrong side of the line. Of course, I wouldn't vote for Weiner in 100 years, but that's because he's a far-left liberal. If he had all the wonderful policy positions I listed just then, I'd vote for him. How often does the opportunity come along? And what if he was just a congenital liar, like Hillary Clinton, a person whose notion of taking responsibility is to say, I take responsibility, and then stick his nose right back in the trough? That I don't think I could stomach. But again, I'm not likely going to have to. Conservatives aren't like that. In any case, I'm just one voter, and a candidate with the policies I listed would stand zero chance of being elected to anything in welfare state America. So it's all pretty hypothetical. Or as the lady herself might say, at this point, what difference would it make?